Rusty and Nelly's jungle. So we are ready to get these Korean succulents potted up. I'm going to start by first talking about the soil that I choose to use. We've tried a bunch of different soils. Some work, some don't. It all depends on where you live, what your environment is like typically, and what your microclimate is like in your house. So after doing a lot of research, I found that the soil that works the best for me, ProMix HP, mixed with Jack's Gritty Bonsai Mix. The reason that I went with the ProMix is because I generally use ProMix premium potting soil in all of my outdoor pots, and I have found great success with that particular brand. Where I found I had problems with other ones, that's just a personal preference. The Jack's Gritty Bonsai Mix I tried on a whim and started mixing with it just to give it a more porous, gritty texture. And as you'll notice here on the table, it's mostly terracotta pots that we are using in order to pot up our succulents. Again, based on our particular environment, we're here in Ontario and it is damp. We need a pot that's porous, that's going to draw the moisture out of the soil so that we aren't constantly battling rot in our succulents. They do need a much drier environment than what we can naturally provide. So we've watched a lot of videos of people potting up their succulents, meticulously adding the topping on it. I have found I'm not a patient person. I don't want to spend 20 minutes potting one succulent. I want them all potted, put away, and I want to move on with the 500 other things that are on my list to do for the day. So I've got a pot here that's filled with my mixture. This is the monster that I am going to put in here. I do like to use the Jack's Bonsai Mix also as a topper because it looks pretty and it's also the natural substrate that's already in my pot. I could pot this up and try to meticulously place this around. I have found it's already mixed in the soil. It's so much easier to get that set up first. Get my little area dug in. Now you'll notice I have not removed these dead roots. I find that they make a nice anchor. So I don't see the point in removing them if I don't have to. So I will just use this wonderful little tool that has been provided with my order of the Jack's Bonsai Mix. And I'm just going to make sure I have this in there and that I tuck as much of the topping up under for those little new roots. I have to turn this so I can see what I'm doing. We'll just get it to settle a bit. And there are a couple of little sections around the edge that I can still see a little bit more perlite than I'd like to. So I'll just top it up a little bit more. And there we go. First succulent is in a pot. She's ready to start growing her roots, settle into her environment, and hopefully become even bigger and more beautiful than she already is. Okay. So this beast, our cotyledon, I have contemplated how I want to pot this, And I've noted that a lot of the succulents that I order that are more tree-like, their new roots will start to grow a little further up here. So I've decided to test potting her down a little bit deeper like this. Because I'm doing it this way, I can't do the simplified method that I just showed you with the other one. So I've just got her placed about as deep as I want her to be. And because this can be awkward, I've taken just another little empty plastic nursery pot that I have. And I'm just going to slowly try to fill this up as I'm keeping her as placed as possible. The great thing about how gritty this texture is and how airy it is that as I'm putting this in, I can still move my succulent around and adjust how it's standing, how I want it to be, without causing any damage to the plant itself and without causing myself way more frustration than needs to be. There we go. She's kind of standing up on her own. She needs a little bit more actual soil in there, just because as it gets moist, although this soil does dry out super fast, as you water it, it can compact slightly, and so you'll lose some of the original volume that you have. Some of these spent leaves that have decided to drop as I'm putting her out. Settle her in a little. Give her a little tug and she seems pretty secure, so I am confident that this is potted well. Now hopefully she'll grow lots of new roots and thrive. She is so pretty. All right, so now we're moving on to our Echeveria agavoidi akehosi. I'm probably killing that name. So sorry for anybody who can actually pronounce it. For this one, she's got the finer leaves. For some of the bigger ones, they weren't quite ready to come off yet. They still had some pull to it when I tried to tug them. So as they're growing their roots, I'm gonna let them go ahead and eat those leaves while they're trying to survive so that they're not destroying any of the newer leaves that haven't been desiccated yet. So this one, we're just gonna clean off all of these little dead leaves. All of the dead leaves that are definitely ready to come off. They're just hard pieces now. With her, she does have some very fine roots starting. So I don't want to just jam her down in the dirt. So we're going to use the same method that we used with the cotyledon. And yes, I cheated and leaned her against the side for support to make that super easy on myself. And she did have a couple of little pieces that decided to be jumpers. So, very carefully. Very fine roots. So we definitely want to be careful so we're not hurting those. Dig her a little hole. Just gently slide her in there. And then this one, it's a little more close together, so I'm not just going to dump the bucket over it like I did with the others. Got her good and settled in. Now, the reason that I tap to settle it instead of jamming the soil down with my little tool or my fingers or anything, those tiny roots are so delicate. When we handle them, a lot of the time, let's see. Oh, she doesn't have super fine ones. All right. If I were to handle these tiny roots with my hands or jam it into the soil, they are very fragile. They're going to come off. We want these roots to stay on there so that the succulent is actually using these tiny roots to drink up any water that it gets through the soil, rather than eating more of its leaves as it did when it was traveling here in the big dark box. So that is why you'll see me tapping it every single time I'm settling the soil for all of the succulents as I'm potting them. All right, so now I've got my Echeveria avocado cream happening here. Absolutely fell in love with this one when I saw it on the website. And as you'll discover as I order succulents, I do have a slight obsession with anything that resembles a tree. I just, for some reason, find them very attractive. She's all settled in. Now I do also find using this bonsai mix as a topper as well as part of the soil itself, it does give it a little bit of weight to help sturdy the plant as it's attempting to grow roots and settle in on its own. So if you do accidentally bump your pot while you're admiring your other plants on the shelf, which I do a lot, you're less likely to knock it loose and have it fall sideways in the pot on you and damage any new growth that might be there that you haven't realized yet. And there we go. Beautiful avocado cream, just waiting to grow more of these gorgeous little pups for me. Okay, now this avocado cream kind of came in two pieces. I'm guessing because of where the root structure had to be cut off, she got separated into two plants at that point. I do want her in the same pot, however. And as I've learned, although she looks like she should be in a much bigger pot based on all of the heads at the top, the more soil you have around less roots, the more likely you are to, even being very careful, overwater your succulents, again causing rot, which seems to be the nemesis to every succulent grower that I've talked to. I do have this loose little wiggly volunteer that already has a root. So I will just throw her in a little propagation tray later. And knowing me, may or may not remember which leaf it is as it grows a baby head. I seem to like to guess which leaves are growing what pups. Alright, so we're all ready to pot up this beautiful Clobra, however you pronounce that. I'm just so in love with these leaves, the way they twist, and it just looks so unique. Almost like little Shrek ears, but not. Alright, so again, I've used the same method as I did on the first one. I've already put the soil in there. We do have some fine roots down here, but I have a shorter stem to plant than I did on the taller tree-like ones. So, just gonna make our little tornado hole there. Tuck her in. Settle that soil around her. And yep, she's pretty steady. I'm just gonna slide some of the topping. But there we go. She's in. A few seconds, easy peasy. Okay, so on the bottom of the pots, I noticed I haven't mentioned this yet. We do just put a little screen cutting, literally just a roll of patio screen door screen that we've cut up into little suitable pieces to sit on the bottom, just to hold the dirt in, keep it from falling through those little holes so you're not making a huge mess. Got this one ready. Again, just a short area that's going to go in there. Notice I haven't pulled these leaves off yet. It's because they still have some tug to them. And so this plant is not done desiccating these leaves yet. I'm going to let it do that. I'll maintain them and make them prettier as I go, as I notice that they're sturdier in their pots. The roots have gotten longer and have been able to take hold. Oh, I want the other end for that. And again, little tornado hole. Tuck her into her space nice and gentle. Tap her to settle her, and there we go. She's in there. Look at those gorgeous leaves. Bumpies. Love the bumpies. Okay, so we've got the pot ready for the other orange Monroe here. Now, if you notice, all of the dried up roots are kind of protecting all of the newer roots that are just starting to grow up near the top. For this one, because I don't have a huge root system to deal with, I'm just going to very gently set her in there. And her roots will stretch out into the substrate that I've given her. Now for this one, when we do water it, we will be using a dropper to get around the edges, so we're not getting her leaves soaking wet, but we're still encouraging the growth of the root down below. We'll set that out of the way. Okay, so if you guys remember our unboxing video, and if you haven't watched it yet, definitely go back and watch it. Subscribe, like, watch all the videos. This was one of our gifts with purchase. We weren't really sure what it was before, but we have purchased an Echeveria crinoline off of him, which this one looks almost exactly like, so I'm pretty sure we have another one of those. Now, she's got some super fine roots all down here. And very gently dig her out this little hole. Not sure I have her settled in. Take my poker and kind of try to pull away at the bottom. There we go. So I didn't have to use any pressure to push her down. I was just able to kind of guide her into the space that I was doing so I could have her down there enough. And not too much rocking. She seems pretty settled in. We will keep a little eye on the bit of stem that's still sticking out because she may put a lot of roots out on this part, and I may have to put her in a bit deeper of a pot in order to make sure that those roots aren't getting aired out, dried out, because if those are the ones she's going to focus on and not the ones down below, then I could just be causing damage by leaving them alone. So we'll keep a close eye on her, see where she chooses to push the rest of those roots out. All right, so in this pot, it's just a ceramic glazed terracotta pot. It's nice and low and flat. We've got all these tiny little sections here. Don't need a whole lot of soil underneath them, and it may cause problems if we do put it. And then of course, my little escapees from my avocado cream that have decided they don't want to be with their mama. They want to be out on their own. So we're gonna try to figure out how I best like a little arrangement here. Use that old root there to anchor that guy in. And going in there. Well, now I don't really need to poke him, do I? Just place that one there. All of these roots will find their way into the soil. That is what succulents do. That's their job. Do you see one tiny little one poking out though? So I'm just going to gently, well, probably couldn't see what I was doing there, but I could see one of the brand new roots just kind of poking up, wasn't really in the substrate. Again, I don't want those roots to dry out. I want them to be encouraged. So tuck them in like a baby. And now, with all of those itty bitty ones, we've created a little arrangement. So we'll watch and see how that grows. Maybe we'll do an update on it on one of our videos a few months or a year down the road, depending on how quickly they grow. Okay. So for our last succulent potting, I have this gorgeous, it looks ceramic, but it is a ceramic glazed terracotta pot. Fell in love with it when I saw it. My favorite little place at Kiwi Gardens. Thank you for encouraging me to expand my pot horizons, Paul. So for this, it didn't come with the drainage hole in it. We all know how important drainage is for our succulents. We have to have that water getting out of the pot so it can dry properly and have its desert-like environment. Really, just a drill, masonry drill bit. It takes about 30 seconds, really. Just place it somewhere where you have somewhere for the drill bit to go through. I personally like to turn them upside down most of the time. Clearly, this one was not done that way. And then just drill through. Takes about 30 seconds. Not hard to do at all. Little scary the first couple of times you do it, especially if you are in love with the pot that you purchased. So let's get on with potting this gorgeous baby up. Oh, in my beautiful red pot. I love it. We're just gonna, this one takes up a little bit more soil. Oh, and if you're like me, be sure to have a broom on hand because dirt and bonsai mix goes everywhere, hence the paper on the table. I'm a very messy planter. Let me give her a little extra topping there. All right, now you've seen all my other little methods there. This one, a lot of the roots seem to want to be growing up a little bit higher. So for her, I do want to anchor her. Just use my finger to start that little spot. But I'm just going to give her a couple little wiggles. And then we'll just peek in there. Shedding. Make sure we've got enough of that covered. All right, so I have managed to make a little groove down here as it settled, probably because I twisted and pressed in just slightly. I don't want a little water hole developing. So just tuck that back in. Convince the bonsai mix that it needs to be under the plant and not in the plant. What do we have here? Okay guys, so there you have it. All of the succulents that we just unboxed the other day have now been potted up. They are ready to be placed under their grow lights and start settling into their new environment. So thank you everybody for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and definitely like, subscribe, share with all your friends, and come join us again on another plant adventure when we post another video. Have a great day, guys.